This is the W5FC repeater, PL110.9. When is Skynet?
I don't know.
Does Charlie know?
Always 9 p.m. Saturday on 146.88. Duh.
4 minutes and 30 seconds to Skynet. This is KF5JHA.
W5FC.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Good evening, everyone. Does anyone need to use a repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? Excuse me for just a minute. My computer decided to reset itself. I'll be back in about 60 seconds. This is KF5JHA. My name is Chaz. I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Just to let you know, if you want to sign into Skynet tonight, we really recommend that you go online to w5fc.org and sign in through the internet. That would be helpful. Right now we've got 5 people that are signed in over there on the internet. So go ahead and do that right now. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space, and those kind of things. This net is open to all amateurs interested in the topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. Well, that would be me, Chaz. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of their transmissions, such as this. This is KF5JHA. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a private line tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. And once again, if you want to sign into Skynet online, that would be very helpful, especially to me, because I don't do this very often. So go to w5fc.org and click on the link to sign in this evening. Okay, let me see. Tonight's topics: astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio video links are available online. Go to w5fc.org right now for a complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. Now, you can check in to the net electronically. I've already told you that a couple of times. w5fc.org. Look for tonight's announcement and click on the hot link to check in. We'll be acknowledging you on the air. And don't worry if you want to check in via voice. We'll continue to do that. Okay, let me see. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not to be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. General announcement: Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, National Space Society events, recent astronomical discoveries. Discussion topic of the evening was space exploration and space history. Constellation of the week, space launch of the week, visible sat 73 rounds. We might get to all of these. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. Now let's see now. I'm going to look over here on line and see who has checked in. We have 5 people. KE5ICX, Tom. K5MCD, Cody. KE5JIT, that's Randy. KI5SDS, Jeff. K5KTX, Kelly. All of them have signed in over there using the electronic sign-in, so that's a great deal. Thank you so much. Now, what we'd like to do is go ahead and check people in that want to check in via voice over the radio. So come now, if you are short time, I'd like to have your call sign phonetically, slowly, your name, and where you're transmitting this evening. We'll take them in groups of 3. So the first 3 people that are short time, come now with call sign phonetically, name, and where you're transmitting from.
Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey, John and Coppell. And by the way, my earlier link didn't have that check-in on it, so maybe the later one does. K5JW.
Well, thank you, John. Last time I checked, it was there, so maybe it was not there earlier, but it is. Oh, it's there now. KE5ICX is in echoing saying, yes, it's there. Okay, cool. All right, let me see. Okay, is there anybody else that's short time that would like to sign in? Come now with your call sign, phonetically, slowly, your name, and where you're transmitting from.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James and Carrington. Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill Farmers Bridge.
Okay, James and Bill, I've got you right now. John, James, and Bill, you're coming in with short time. Do you have anything for the net this evening before you go away? Okay, hearing nothing, let's go ahead and do general check-in. If you'd like to sign in for this session of the DARC Skynet, come now with your call sign phonetically, slowly, so I can write them down, your name and where you're transmitting from. I'm going to take them in groups of 3, please. So the first 3, please come now.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot India WB4MFI Ted Dallas Low Power.
Kilo Echo 5, Echo November, Eric in Plano.
Well, we're starting out slow tonight. I've got 11 total so far. That's including myself. Tell you what, we'll go over to Echolink and see if we can get some people coming in over Echolink. If you'd like to check in via voice over Echolink, come now with your call sign phonetically and your name and your location, please. I'm not sure why this is happening, but the people that are over on Echolink, I hear the I had my volume on my computer down. I hear your transmission over Echolink, but it's not coming through the radio. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take all the people on Echolink and write them down and acknowledge them right now. That would be Brenda, WB5OZL. That's Kelly, K5KTX. That would be Jay, KG5BZW, Huey, KF5PLL, and Jimmy, KD5LQD. I think I've got everyone that's over there. Let's see now. I've got somebody. I guess you've got some people over on YouTube, I think. I see ICX over here putting people in. Let's see now. Bill, N5BB, I guess you're in here somewhere. And Philip at Wills Point, K5KOB, I've got you as well. Okay, I'm translating things from Echolink over on pieces of paper. All right. Is there anyone else that would like to check in that I haven't acknowledged? Come now with your call sign slowly, phonetically, your name and your location.
Kilo Echo 5, Echo November, Eric, Plano. Sure you got.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth.
Okay, let's stop it there. I've got Eric and Sean. I think I've missed someone else that was in there. Please come now. If you were one of those three people that just checked in, I only got Eric and Sean.
November 5, Lima, India Golf, Mobile, Bill, Louisville, en route to Dallas.
Louisville on the way to Dallas. Okay, so we're up to now 21 people. That's great. All right, we'll try one more round of check-ins. Come now. If you would like to check into Skynet, come now with your call sign phonetically, slowly, and your name and your location, please. We'll take the next three people.
Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, J near Weatherford on Echolink.
Jay, I heard you over Echolink. Thank you. I'm not sure who was transmitting earlier on Echolink, but I heard them, but I didn't hear them over the radio. Jay, I heard you on both Echolink and over the radio, so thank you so much. I already had you checked in. All right, tell you what, let's move on. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or general interest. Come now with your call sign if you'd like to make an announcement.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo.
Virginia, we've got you checked in, NC5F. Bill, N5BB, go ahead.
Yes, this is N5BB. The Irving Amateur Radio Club has a fox hunt tomorrow from 1 to 3 p.m. on Sunday. We'll be meeting the people that are going to be participating, plan to meet at the Irving Ham Shack. This is at Betcha Bingo, the place where we have the Ham Fest in March every year, the Irving Ham Fest. You can also probably find some people over on the 7-2 repeater discussing it. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to be there. So if you want to go to a fox hunt, the Irving Club got trained by Tony in T5TM at our meeting last week. So we're fresh off some training by Tony in how to hunt foxes. Irving Fox Hunt tomorrow, 1 to 3 p.m. N5BB. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bill. All right, just to let you know, we've got a lot of nets on this repeater, just tons of them. If I sat there and went through them all, I'd take another 7 or 8 minutes, and I don't want to do that because it's already 19 minutes after the hour. So, tell you what, if you want to find out about the host of nets, that we have tons of them. If you're hungry, you can get a net on that. If you want to do emergency communications, you can do that. And the list goes on. But there is a net that's coming up later on after Skynet, around 10:30-ish, and it's called Afterglow. We have a description from our Afterglow guru. That would be Tom, KE5ICX. Tom, would you please give us a summary of the Afterglow movie that's going to be reviewed tonight?
Well, thank you, Bill. I've been more than happy to do that. I am proud of my highly accurate synopses, but this one is really good. This is, for tonight's movie, Kirk Douglas anxiously waited for the announcement as the main leading men's names were read out loud. The venue was unusual, a Days Inn in Dayton, Ohio, just off the main drag to the airport. Douglas scanned the audience and competition. Most of them he'd already seen at the morning buffet. Somehow his tuxedo stood out amongst a crowd of children in vacation bathing suits and adults with open beer containers, all apparently looking around for free food. The man in the Bermuda shorts announced the contenders. Neil Diamond in The Jazz Singer, Michael Beck for Xanadu, Robert Blake for Coast to Coast, Bruce Jenner for Can't Stop the Music, Kirk Douglas for Saturn III, and Sam Jones for Flash Gordon. Something seemed wrong about this. These people were all terrible actors, some terrible and not even actors. And the winner of the Golden Raspberry for Worst Actor goes to Neil Diamond for The Jazz Singer. Kirk knew he was a winner, and being absolutely the worst at something was still a win. He got up and headed for the announcer. It appeared he had a trident he had stolen from Spartacus in his hands. This wasn't going to end well. Join us for a Kirk Douglas major malfunction in Saturn III from 1980 tonight at 10:30 p.m. Back to you, Bill. Bill. Chaz. It could be Bill. I'll call you Bill. No, never mind. Chaz, back to you. KE5ICX.
actually being called Bill is one of the nicer things people have called me in the past. Thank you, Tom. All right, let me go on to the Texas Astronomical Society. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, September 27th, and the meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. Let's see now, Saturday night public observing sessions continue. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night, so there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions. But on the 5th Saturday, there are no public observing sessions. Oh, well. But there are on other times and other locations. You can check texasastro.org for up-to-date information about meetings and public observing sessions. All right, let me see. The National Space Society events and activities. Bill, N5BB, you usually talk about that. Would you like to do that again tonight?
Well, sure. Bob, Chaz. Let's see. So this is November 5, Bravo, Bravo. I am the membership director and member at large of the National Space Society North Texas chapter. The National Space Society is a non-profit group based in the U.S. which is interested in the exploration and development of space and without killer robots. The North Texas chapter of the National Space Society meets at 3:30 p.m. on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. The meeting location is Spring Creek Barbecue on the southwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline Road in Irving. This is a couple of miles east of the south entrance of DFW Airport. On the last Friday evening of each month, at 6 to 8 p.m., the National Space Society North Texas chapter sponsors a social event called Space Rendezvous. The location is Cheddar's Restaurant, 700 West Highway 635 in Irving. Anyone is welcome to attend and discuss human activities in space with us. No membership in any group is required. Our last meeting was last evening, Friday evening, since that was the last Friday of the month. And there were, how many people there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think either 9 or 10. I'd have to list them all out. But we had a good showing there. We overfilled the table. We had to keep up pulling up chairs and squeezing people in to our large table. It was fun. Be there, be square last Friday of September. Our local National Space Society chapter website is at ntx.nss.org. That's the abbreviation of North Texas, ntx.nss.org. Our group also has an active Facebook page. Just search for National Space Society of North Texas. The next meeting of the National Space Society North Texas chapter will be on Sunday afternoon, September the 8th. So that's a week from tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. And this is going to, of course, be at Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving. The speaker will be NASA Communications Manager Dwayne Washington, who will speak about the Mars Sample Return Changing Mission. Yep, they're still trying to figure out what they're going to do about the sample return that have been left up there on Mars. They want to get them back, but their original plan was way too slow and expensive. That's all I've got. This is N5BB. Back to the net.
Wow, that plan sounds like it's out of this world. Okay, maybe I should move on. I think the next thing we need to do is see if there's anybody else that would like to check in. If you'd like to check in, come now with your call sign slowly, phonetically, because I only do this every once in a while. And your location. If you'd like to check in to Skynet, do so now.
Alpha Golf 5, Papa Charlie, mobile, Rockwall County.
I'm sorry, I missed your name. Could you repeat that?
The name is Al, and like I said, Rockwall County. I'm on 205, headed south from 30.
Thank you, Al. Thank you so much. And I also have somewhere out there in the ether, Clay, N5OF. I guess these might be people on YouTube. I don't know where Tom is getting these over here on Echolink. Okay, but they're not showing up on Echolink. But Clay, you're one of my neighbors in Mesquite. Yeah, there you go. All right, I guess what we're going to do now is have recent astronomical discoveries. On my list, it says Brenda, WB5OZL, is going to give that to us. Brenda, it's all yours.
This is WB5OZL on Echolink. Am I getting out on the repeater?
Brenda, hearing you fine. That's great.
Wonderful. All right, this week we have an article entitled Dark Matter Could Have Helped Make Supermassive Black Holes in the Early Universe. Supermassive black holes typically take billions of years to form. James Webb Space Telescope is finding them not that long after the Big Bang, before they should have had time to form. It takes a long time for supermassive black holes, like the one at the center of our Milky Way galaxy, to form. Typically, the birth of a black hole requires a giant star with a mass of at least 50 of our suns to burn out, a process that could take a billion years, and its core to collapse in on itself. Even so, at only about 10 solar masses, the resulting black hole is a from the 4 million solar masses black hole, Sagittarius A star, found in our Milky Way galaxy, or the billion solar mass supermassive black holes found in other galaxies. Some gigantic black holes can form from smaller black holes by accretion of gas and stars, and by mergers with other black holes, which take billions of years. Why then is the James Webb Space Telescope discovering supermassive black holes near the beginning of eons before they should have been able to form? UCLA astrophysicists have an answer as mysterious as the black holes themselves. Dark matter kept hydrogen from cooling long enough for gravity to condense it into clouds big and dense enough to turn into black holes instead of stars. Surprising it has been to find a supermassive black hole with a billion solar mass when the universe is only half a billion years old. Senior author Alexander Kusinko is professor of physics and astronomy at UC. It's like finding a modern car among dinosaur bones and wondering who built that car in the prehistoric times. Some astrophysicists have posited that a large cloud of gas could collapse to make supermassive black hole directly, bypassing the long history of stellar burning, accretion. But there's a catch. Gravity will indeed pull a large cloud of gas together, but not in one large cloud. Instead, it gathers sections of the gas into little halos that float near each other but don't form a black hole. The reason is because this cloud cools too quickly. As long as the gas is hot, its pressure can counter gravity. However, as the gas hydrogens, which collapse into dense objects before gravity. Gravity has a chance to pull the entire cloud into a single black hole. How quickly the glass, said first author and doctoral student Yifan. Hydrogen atoms bonded together in a molecule dissipate energy when they encounter a loose hydrogen atom. The hydrogen molecules become cooling agents, energy, and radiate it away. Hydrogen clouds in the early universe had molecular hydrogen, and the gas cooled quickly and formed small halos instead of large clouds. Lou and postdoctoral researcher Zachary Picker wrote code to calculate all possible processes of this scenario, discovered that additional radiation can gas and dissociate the hydrogen molecule, fascinating how the gas cools. If you add radiation in a certain energy range, it destroys molecular hydrogen and creates conditions that prevent fragmentation of large clouds, Lou said. But where does the radiation come from? Only a very tiny portion of matter in the universe, our bodies, our planet, the stars, and everything else we can observe. The majority of matter, by its gravitational effects on stellar objects and by bending of light waves from distances, is made of some new particles which scientists have not yet identified. The forms and properties of dark matter are therefore a mystery that remains to be solved. While we don't know what dark matter is, physical theorists have long speculated that it could contain particles which can be into photons, the particles of light, including such dark matter in the simulations needed for the gas to remain in a large cloud while it is collapsing into a black hole. Dark matter could be made of particles that slowly decay, or it could be made of more than one particle species. Stable and some that decay at early. Effective decay would be radiation in the form of photons, which break up molecular hydrogen and prevent hydrogen clouds. Mild decay of dark matter with enough radiation to prevent clouds and eventually supermassive black holes. This could be the solution to why supermassive black holes are found early on, Picker said. Optimistic, you could also read this as positive evidence for one kind of dark matter. If these supermassive holes formed by the collapse of a gas cloud may be the additional unknown physics of sector. Okay, that was from ScienceDaily.com. This is WOZL. Back to Ned.
Thank you, Brenda. All right, I guess we're up to the featured topic, which is usually what the net control does, so I've got a featured topic. The featured topic is about the Carrington event. Slide master, that would be slide number 2, please. If you didn't know who our slide master is, that's Tom. This comes from the monthly notices of the Royal Astronomical Society, volume 20, page 13 and 14. The title is Description of the Singularity Appearance Seen in the Sun on September the 1st, 1859. Yeah, we're almost at that anniversary. That would be tomorrow. The author is R.C. Carrington. And I quote from the article. This will take me a moment or two. While engaged in the forenoon of Thursday, September 1st, in taking my customary observation of the forms and positions of solar spots, an appearance was witnessed which I believe to be exceedingly rare. The image of the sun's disk was, as usual with me, projected on a plate of glass coated with distemper of pale straw color, and at a distance and under a power which represented a picture of about 11 inches in diameter. I had secured diagrams of all the groups and detached sunspots and was engaged at the time in counting from the chronometer and recording the contacts of the spots with a crosswires used in the observation. When within the area of the Great North Group, the size of which had been previously excited, generally remarked, two patches of intensely bright and white light broke out in positions indicated in the appended diagram by letters A and B, and the forms of the spaces left white. My first impression was that by some chance a ray of light had penetrated through the hole of the screen attached to the object glass. I wanted to say objective, but it just says object glass, by which the general image is thrown into shade. For the brilliancy of full equal to that of the direct sunlight, but at once interrupting the current observation and causing the image to move, turning the right ascension handle, I saw it was unprepared to witness a very different affair. I thereupon noted down the time of the chronometer, and seeing the outburst to be very rapid on increasing and being somewhat flurried by my surprise, I hastily ran to call someone to witness the exhibition with me, and on returning within 60 seconds was mortified to find out that it had already much changed and enfeebled. Very shortly afterwards, the last trace was gone, and although I maintained a strict watch for nearly an hour, no reoccurrence took place. End of quote. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 3, please. So what Richard Carrington was observing is what we now call a white light flare associated with a coronal mass ejection. We call it a CME. This is one of the largest solar events of its kind in the last 200 years. Independently, another observer, Richard Hodgins, also observed the event. This CME took only 17.6 hours to make it from 150 kilometers journey from the sun to the Earth. Most CMEs take a few days to make the journey. A geomagnetic solar flare affected was observed in the Key Observatory magnetometer by Scottish Mr. Stewart. Slide master, slide number 4. This was the beginning of a very large geomagnetic storm with effects which lasted for several days. Auroras were seen all over the world, and as far south as the Caribbean, Hawaii, and even Colombia, which is close to the equator. At times, the aurora light was brighter than that of the full moon. It is reported that the aurora was so bright over the Rocky Mountains that miners thought it was morning twilight and began fixing breakfast. Slide master, slide number 5, please. At the time of the Carrington event, the telegraph was main technology, and telegraphs were run using batteries. During the event, some telegraphs were able to be operated with batteries disconnected due to voltage being produced along the wires because the intensity of the geomagnetic storm was so great. Most telegraph systems eventually failed. Some fires were caused by the electrical telegraph lines. Many telegraph operators received electric shocks. Oh my. This is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 6. So a question comes up: how often do these events like this occur? Well, first, there's a way to go back in time, is there, to detect these events? Ice cores have been analyzed to try to reconstruct possible history. These events may affect the Earth on average about every 150 years, but this research involving ice cores is not conclusive, and it's not, well, it has been disputed. Slide master, slide number 7. Has an event like this occurred recently? Well, let's talk about a couple of them. So on slide number 7, since 1859, we have observed some big solar events. One occurred in 1921, but was a less severe solar event than the Carrington event, and another less severe solar event happened in 1960. On August 4th, 1972, a strange event occurred. The crew of the U.S. Task Force 77 aircraft flying near a naval minefield near North Vietnam observed 20 to 25 explosions over about a 30-second period of time. On August 15th, 1972, the Commander-in-Chief of the Pacific, Admiral Bernie Cleary, asked about a hypothesis that solar activity could have caused the mine detonation. There was an X-class solar flare. X-class solar flares are the strongest event. It happened on August the 4th, 1972, and it may have triggered the mines from going off. Slide master, slide number 8. On March the 13th, 1989, a geomagnetic storm, the results of the solar activity, knocked out electricity to large sections of Quebec, Canada. Slide master, slide number 9. A series of solar flares in 2003 produced a geomagnetic storm around Halloween of 2003, resulted in a wonderful auroral displays over the next few days. This solar activity was the strongest to date that the GEO system has recorded. Electricity outages occurred in Sweden. The SOHO satellite failed temporarily due to the overload on its systems. Wow. Slide master, slide number 10. On July the 23rd in 2012, a Carrington-class solar event superstorm with a solar flare, CME, and even an electromagnetic pulse, EMP, was observed. But luckily it missed the Earth. That was good. Slide master, slide number 11. On March the 15th, 2015, a large sunspot group released several M-class solar flares and an X-class solar flare. So on St. Patrick's Day 2015, lots of people observed aurora, and ham radio operators took advantage of the opportunity to do some interesting radio contacts not normally available. Yep, this is a curse and a blessing to ham radio operators. Slide master, slide number 12. On May the 10th, 2024, aurora that night was visible throughout North America due to extreme solar activity. Multiple X-class solar events occurred over days before May the 10th from a very large sunspot group, resulting in a super severe geomagnetic storm that persisted for hours. These pics were taken by the task member Dennis Harwell and Bill Jones. Dennis was at his home in Telephone, Texas. Bill Jones was at Devil's Tower, but the pictures were captured by people in Texas, even through clouds, like our own Kelly Miller. She got some. And the large sunspot group was easily seen on solar eclipse glasses over the next several days. By the way, over the last month or so, you've been able to see a couple of different sunspots groups, again, with just your solar eclipse glasses. Wow. And this is KF5, JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 13. All right, the question is, what would happen if a Carrington event directly hit the Earth now? It is estimated that all the satellites would stop working because of overload on their circuitry. The entire electricity grid all over the world could fail and probably be destroyed. Yep, the transformers would blow up. Even small devices as cell phones and computers may be damaged, but with no electricity, they'd become useless pretty quickly anyway. It's estimated that it could take more than 10 years to rebuild the electrical system in the United States alone. Chopping wood and shooting squirrels for food in the backyard would become the norm for a long time. Is there anything we can do if the Carrington event happens right now? The simple answer is not much. This is way beyond our control and not much that we can be doing. I'm not trying to concern all of you out there, but make you aware that our sun is much more over control in our environment than we would ever think of. Of course, we have had some interesting things happen over the last 5.5 months with a tiny little thing that has drastically changed our lives. A Carrington event that might destroy our current technology? Yeah, maybe so. We've been seeing a lot of solar activity, like I said, in the last 5.5 months. Slide master, slide number 14. So what can we do? Well, we can learn. Education is best at this point. Let me give you a couple of resources you can use. Spaceweather.com is a great place to visit daily to learn about the current solar and geomagnetic conditions. Slide master, slide number 15. Did any of you out there in Radio Land go to HamCom 2019 in Dallas? If you did attend HamCom, then maybe you attended a station where space weather woman, Dr. Tamala Scoville, she was looking forward to, I was looking forward to meeting her in person, but she was there virtually. Yep, she was one of the pioneers back then. Her website is spaceweatherwoman.com. That's another resource that you can use. This is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. I've studied the Carrington event for many hours and over the last several years, and I've just scratched the surface with you. Now, do any of you out there have any questions or comments about this topic before we move on?
MV5F.
Virginia, please come back. What do you have as a question?
Well, more comments than questions. I've actually studied this as well, and I also love the Tamitha Scove website. She's been on Ham Nation for years doing the solar reports, and she's also a ham. They actually talked her into getting her license, so her website's fantastic, and it's a really interesting topic, and one does wonder what one can do as a ham to be prepared, and I'm curious if you have any tips in V5F.
Well, Virginia, I think I've already given you my tips. Just learn, because by learning more about what the event could be like, maybe there are things we can do. With minor solar events, satellites can be put in safe mode that can protect them partially. Here on the Earth, I'm not sure what we can do. The challenge is like in the northern part of the world, the extreme polar regions, I should say, not just north, but also south. The electrical grid could get overwhelmed and has done so occasionally. So what can we do? There's things in the electrical grid that could be done, but would they be done? Have no idea. We would have some warning, possibly, because we can see visually what's going on before they eventually get here, because it's 8 and a third minutes between when something happens and we see it from the sun. So anyway, do you have any suggestions, Virginia? Come now.
Well, any suggestion I had would possibly start conjecture. I did see a program on this and EMP type things and preparedness a few years ago that did suggest that it would be good to have a radio storage of some kind that included a very reflective metal as a shield, and believe it or not, aluminum foil is about one of the best things you can use. Copper is also really good to shield equipment that you don't want to be fried by these sorts of things. and I guess to just try to have some good old-fashioned analog equipment or generators or whatever around to produce electricity in the event that something like this happens. So I know there's different, and it's been a long time since I've studied this, there are different solar events, and there are things like solar wind, and there are solar storms, and then there's solar flares and CMEs and prominences and different things that come from the sun, and they produce different types of particles and RF and different things. And would a Carrington event, God, I'm just saying it's been so long since I've studied it, but is that all we have? I know that's the speed of light from the sun is about 8.5 to 9 minutes, but don't we have like a little bit longer after we see something like this to prepare for it in V5F?
It's because the electrons take a lot longer to get here, but the light gets here right away. There will be an effect from the electromagnetic stuff that's heading our way. That happens, again, 8 1/3 minutes, but then the electrons that are coming, the parts of the CMA heading our way would take, well, between hours and a few days. So we could have some time to prepare. Okay, well, we could talk about this for a long time, but we're almost 2/3 of the way through Skynet. Virginia, is that okay for us to move on?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. I was pretty sure we had a little more than a few minutes because, you know, we're seeing the Carrington event about on the sun, on the solar surface about 8 or 9 minutes after it happens. So I knew there was a little bit of latency between that and what we would experience here. So I just wanted to clear that up for myself. Thank you very much, Chaz, and appreciate your topic and your answers in V5F.
Just to give you a little bit more, yes, there'll be an well, not instantaneous, but 8 1/3 minutes after the sun belches out whatever it's going to do. We'll get that right away, but again, there'll be hours to maybe a day or so before some major events would happen afterwards. So we'd have a little bit of time to prepare, but not much, yeah. All right, that's great. The next thing is supposed to be, what is up? Oh, that's me. Slide Master, slide number 16, please. We call this segment of Skynet What is Up because it's all about what's going astronomically over the next couple of weeks and beyond. Slide Master, slide number 17. On Thursday, August the 29th, I was able to take this picture of the sun, if you're looking at the video version, using my solar filter on my ZWO-C star. The large sunspot complex on the sun are so large that you can use your solar eclipse glasses to see them. The sun is near its 11 years solar maximum. We've talked about the solar cycle in past Skynets, and we might have to do that again soon since we're at the solar maximum. Slide Master, slide number 18. We've talked about the prediction of the nova of a star T Corona Borealis, which may erupt at any time over the next month or two. It's currently at a brightness of around 10th magnitude, which is much too faint to be seen with just your two eyes. But when it goes nova, T Corona Borealis could become as bright as the North Star. The North Star is not that bright, but I can see the North Star from right at my place at the intersection of two freeways and bright LED lights around too. Slide Master, slide number 19. On August the 26th, the moon was at the third quarter phase. So the current phase of the moon is a waning crescent. I mean, it's a thin, little sliver crescent. On September the 2nd, the moon will be new. On September the 5th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit, which is the furthest from the Earth at a distance of 406,211 kilometers. On September the 11th, the moon is on the first quarter phase. On September 17th, the moon will be full, and there'll be a partial lunar eclipse. More about the partial lunar eclipse on future Skynets. On September the 18th, the moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 357,286 kilometers. Slide master, slide number 20, please. On the night of August 31st, September the 1st, oh, that's tonight, is the peak of the Auriga meteor shower with about half a dozen meteors per hour. The last time I looked outside, it was like 90%, 95% cloud cover. Now, you could always see the most meteors the hour before dawn, because that's the side of the Earth that's running into the debris that's left over by a comet or an asteroid. If you want to get more information about meteors and meteor showers, you can visit the International Meteor Organization at www.imo.net or the American Meteor Society at www.amsmeteors.org. Slide master, slide number 21. On September 1st, oh, that's tomorrow, early in the morning, in the northeastern sky, there's a conjunction of the moon and the planet Mercury. Mercury was in the evening sky. It's flipped around into the morning sky now. Slide master, slide number 22. On September the 2nd, in the early morning sky, east-northeasterly direction, in strong twilight, you might see the moon and the minor planet Vesta. Vesta I've seen with 20 by 80 binoculars from inside the city, so you could do it too, but you'll need binoculars to do it. Slide master, slide number 23. On September the 4th, in the western evening sky, there's a conjunction of the moon and Venus and Juno. That's another minor planet spread out over a 7-degree field of view. Slide master, slide number 24. On the night of September 8th and 9th is the peak of the September Epsilon Perseid meteor shower with about, again, a half a dozen meteors per hour. You could always see the meteors, remember, before dawn. That would be probably the hour before dawn to see it. Okay, slide master, slide number 25. On September the 9th, there's a conjunction of Mercury and Regulus in the east-northeastern morning sky. And slide master, slide number 26. On September the 12th, there's a conjunction of the moon and the minor planet Ceres, the biggest of them, yes, in the southern evening sky. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 27. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on the information? Or maybe you just have a general astronomy question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Whiskey Victor Lima.
Whiskey Victor Lima, come now.
Chaz, I had got up in the morning a couple of days ago, and I saw the rising planet Jupiter. It was pretty bright, but then further to the upper right of that was a twinkling star, and I believe that was Uranus.
Jupiter is what you saw in the sky. Below Jupiter is the planet Mars right now. Above Jupiter, that you probably saw, was the star Aldebaran. Does that help you out?
Yeah, roger on that. But I was, would you be able to visibly see Uranus in the morning, KG5 WVL?
Uranus is not normally visible to the naked eye. You'd need a pair of binoculars or a telescope to see it. You might see it under very dark conditions, far, far away from the city lights. Under ideal weather conditions, maybe, but you need to know where to look, and it would be the faintest thing you'd see in the sky. So you're not going to see that planet with your two eyes. Thank you for your question, though. All right. Slide master, slide number 28. So as the moon wanes right now, and it's almost at new moon, So these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live. And until next week, we'll do another segment on What's Up then. Okay, let's see now what's next on our list. Hey, I think it's the Chaz and Brenda show tonight. Brenda, I think you're up with space exploration and space history. It's all yours, Brenda.
You are. I'm up next. This is WB5OZL. We're going to start with space exploration news. About the Starliner return. NASA is live coverage of the upcoming activities for Boeing's Starliner spacecraft departure from the International Station and return to Earth. The crewed spacecraft will depart from the orbiting laboratory, White Sands Space Harbor in New Mexico. Starliner is scheduled to autonomously undock from the space station approximately 6:04 p.m. EDT Friday to begin the journey home, weather conditions permitting. NASA are targeting approximately 12:03 a.m. Saturday, September 7th for the landing and conclusion test. NASA astronauts which will aboard Boeing's Starliner on June 5th for its first crewed flight, leaving at the space station on June 6th. Starliner approached the orbiting laboratory. NASA and Boeing helium link experienced issues with the spacecraft reaction control. Via the astronauts, NASA announced on August 24th, the liner will return to Earth without a crew. Wilmore will station and return home in assigned to NASA Space. Remember when asteroid it is the DART spacecraft or known as the new study has found. Space Agency planned the DART, or Double Asteroid Redirection, to carry out a full-scale assessment of asteroid deflection technology on behalf of planetary defense. NASA wanted to see whether a kinetic impact, such as a crashing spacecraft, or such as crashing a spacecraft into an asteroid at 13,645 miles per hour, would be to change by the motion of a celestial object in space. Neither Dimorphos or the large parent space rock that it orbits, known as Didymos, pose a danger to Earth. Still, the double asteroid system was a perfect target to test deflection technology because Dimorphos' size is comparable to asteroids that could threaten our planet. Asteroids have used ground-based scopes to monitor the impact's aftermath for nearly 2 years. They've determined that the DART spacecraft did successfully change the way Dimorphos moves, shifting the moonlet asteroid's orbital period, or how long it takes to make a single revolution, by about 32 to 33 minutes. Scientists also estimated the intentional generated more than 2 million pounds of rocks and dust, enough to fill about 6 or 7 rail cars. Where exactly in space all that material will end up has remained an open question. Now, new research suggests fragments of Dimorphos will arrive in the vicinity of Earth and Mars case, with the possibility that some debris could reach the red planet within 7 years. Other debris could also reach Earth's atmosphere within the next 10 years. The Planetary Science Journal has accepted the study for publication. Material could produce visible meteors, commonly called shooting stars, as they penetrate the Martian atmosphere. One of the first particles to reach Earth, they could continue to arrive intermittently and periodically for the next one of our calculations. Another unexpected geomagnetic storm. During the late hours of August 30th, a crack opened in Earth's magnetic field, where wind flows through the gap, sparking an unexpected G1 class geomagnetic storm with auroras in both Europe and the USA. Sightings were also reported in California, Scotland, and southeast England. In the USA, photographic auroras were widespread, including Colorado, Mississippi, and Oregon. Caused the crack to open? It might have been a fragment of the CME's tail, the same CME that caused an even stronger storm on August 28th. Hey, birthdays! Bye. Andrew J. Fustel, August 25th, 1965, flew on STS-125 and 134 and Soyuz MS-08 Expedition 5556. Lee Archibald, August 25th, 1960, STS-117 and 119. Joe Engel, August 26, 1932, 15 flights 138, 143, 53. ALT, CS2 and STS-50. John E. Blaha, August 26, 1942. CS-29, 33, 43, 58, then STS-79 up and STS-89 down. Catherine P. Higher, August 26, 1959, STS-90 and 130. Leroy Chow, August 28, 1960, STS-65, 72, 92, and Soyuz TMA-5 Expedition 10. Marshburn, August 29, 1960, STS-127, Soyuz TMA-07M Expedition 30, Sex Cruise 3 Expedition 66 and 67. Charles D. Walker, August 29, 1948, STS-41D, STS-51D, STS-61B. Swigert, August 30th, 1931, Apollo 13. Megan MacArthur, August 30th, 1971, STS-125, and SpaceX Crew 2 Expeditions 65 and 66. This week in space history. Nimbus 1, also called Nimbus A, was launched on August 28, 1964, a Thor Agena rocket from Vandenberg Air Force Base, California. The craft functioned nominally until September 22, 1964. Re-entered Earth's atmosphere on May 16, 1974. The first in a series of second-generation meteorological research and development satellites, Nimbus 1 was designed to serve as a stabilized Earth-oriented platform for testing of advanced meteorological sensor systems for collecting meteorological data. August 27th, 1962. Of Mariner 2. Mariner 2, or Mariner V 62. Hold on. American space probe to Venus was the first robotic space probe to report successfully from a planetary encounter. The first successful spacecraft in the NASA Mariner program, it was a simplified version of the Block 1 spacecraft of the Ranger program and an exact copy of Mariner 1. Route to Venus, Mariner 2 measured the solar wind, a constant stream of charged flowing outwards from the sun, confirming the measurements by Luna 1 in 1959. It also measured interplanetary dust, which turned out to be scarcer than predicted. In addition, Mariner 2 detected high-energy charged particles coming from the sun, including several brief solar flares, as well as cosmic rays from outside the solar system. As it flew by Venus on December 14th, 1962, Mariner 2 scanned the planet with its pair of radiometers, revealing that Venus has cool clouds and an extremely hot surface. National Day is held on August 26th every year. This year, we want to remember Belka and Strelka, Russian astronaut dogs who were the first living beings to go into space and return. They had company on the flight, 40 mice, 2 rats, a rabbit, some fruit flies, and plants. They were launched August 19th, 1960, in a Sputnik 5 capsule. Later, Strelka had a daughter named Pushinka that was gifted to First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy. Later had 4 puppies that were given away. That's all I have. Back to net. This is WB5OZL.
Thank you, Brenda. Wow, there was a few people with birthdays. Swagger? Wow. Yeah, Apollo 13. If you haven't watched that movie recently, you need to go back and watch that movie. The movie is pretty close to what actually took place. It wasn't embellished very much by the movie maker. All right. Just to let you know, I've got 2 more people that have checked in. At least I've checked them in anyway. Dale, N5LIG, and Stephen, W5SPH. They are over on Echolink, and I've checked them in. That makes 27 people that's checked in. If you would like to check in and you haven't been acknowledged, please come now with your call sign, slowly, phonetically, and your name and your location if you'd like to check into Skynet this evening.
This is Whiskey 5, Bacon, Lettuce, Tomato, W5BLT, Bill, Garland, checking in.
Kilo, Golf, 5, Uniform, Foxtrot, Romeo, Jacob, Farmers Branch.
Well, Bill and Jacob, you are now number 28 and 29 on the top 30 list of people that have signed into Skynet this evening. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm looking at the clock. We only have a few minutes left in Skynet. We're going to postpone until next week our Constellation of the Week, Cygnus the Swan. So we'll go ahead and jump ahead. So Tom, get prepared. He's over on his other computer probably. He looks like he's got the Starship Enterprise in his setup over there. You know, he's probably got 50 computers. I know of at least 2 that he's working on at the same time. But anyway, Tom, why don't you talk about...
All right, thank you, Chaz. This is KE5ICX. Well, just to let you know, of course, the Falcon 9 stuff is grounded for the time being, so that greatly reduces the number of missions that are going to take off. But here we go for the launches. We have September 11th, 2024, Soyuz MS-26 mission from Baikonur Cosmodrome Site 31, in case you're keeping track of that. This is a rocket that will launch a 3-man crew to the International Space Station. It includes Alexei Ovchinin, will be joined by fellow cosmonaut Ivan Wagner and NASA astronaut Don Petit, one of our favorites. Soyuz is set to dock with the ISS at about 3:33 Eastern Daylight Time. The spacecraft will remain docked with the orbiting outpost until April 1st of 2025. Next up is the Vulcan Certification Flight 2 from SLC-41 at Cape Canaveral. This will be United Launch Alliance Vulcan rocket, will carry ballast and a collection of small payloads. They changed this mission when it became clear the original payload, the Sierra Dream Space Dream Chaser cargo ship, would not launch. The second test flight is needed to gain certification from the U.S. military to fly national security payloads. Then we have Dream Chaser 1 with Vulcan Centaur. That'll be SLC-41. It's to be determined. We don't know exactly when. It'll launch on its second demonstration flight, cargo vehicle for the International Space Station. The Dream Chaser is a lifting body resupply spaceship that will launch on top of a rocket and land on a runway. It will be Dream Chaser's first flight into space, and it will fly in the VC-4L configuration with 4 GEM 63XL solid rocket boosters, a long-length payload fairing, and 2 RL-10 record engines for the Centaur upper stage. And that's it. That's all I got. All of the Falcon 9 missions are canceled for now. Back to you, Chas, KE5ICX. Unless you would like me to...
Tom, I should have let you just do the next segment back to back. Something about visible satellite passages. Go ahead, Tom.
All right, thank you, Chaz. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm getting used to this new schedule as well, so hang on here. I got ISS here, but I've got it messed up. Hold on. Okay, it's fighting with me tonight. I did not get the ISS main page. I've got the individuals without any of the information. So I'm just going to skip down to Tiangong Chinese Space Station. So I've got one pass for that. That's September 7th. And that one will be a minus 0.9 magnitude at 6:27 a.m. It'll reach its highest point at 38 degrees at 6:30. And it'll fall to the east at 6:33 at to the east at around 10 degrees. Let's see here. If I can sneak around this, I might be able to get in the ISS stuff. Hold on. Nope, it's fighting with me. Chaz, I'm going to have to go back to you. I can't trick this thing into giving us the appropriate coordinates. So back to you, KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks for the valiant try. Oh, just to let everyone know, you too can get your own satellite predictions. Go to the website heaven-above.com. If you know your latitude and longitude, it's also going to ask for your elevation, so altitude. So if you have all those three items, then you can find the exact predictions for evening and morning satellites that'll be going over your head. That's a great thing to do because it's slightly different depending on where you're located, especially if you're in Fort Worth versus Dallas versus Waxahachie versus up by the Red River. It's going to be slightly different. But if you live in Dallas County, the predictions are going to be roughly the same. If you don't know your latitude, longitude, and elevation, just put in Dallas and it'll give you a good reference. At least the ISS and Tingong will be okay. All right, well, I'm looking at the clock. We have a little bit of time left over. I cut some things short because I was looking at the clock and I said, well, the Constellation of the week is going to take about 8 or 9 minutes, and we didn't have that much time left. And James and Virginia, thank you so much for the questions you have. That's what I like about Skynet is the back and forth that we have. So, James and Virginia, thank you so much. Is there anyone else that would like to talk about anything that they've seen or observed or have a question about? Come down with your call sign. Well, in my featured topic and also what Brenda was talking about the recent solar event, we've had a lot of solar activity recently, so keep watching the sun. If you don't have a telescope that can safely look at the sun, pull out your solar eclipse glasses and look at the sun every once in a while, because some of the sunspots over the last couple of weeks have been so big, all you need are your solar eclipse glasses to be able to see them. Well, okay, there we go. Let me see. Let's go ahead and take a final check of check-ins for this last final round before we close Skynet out. If you'd like to check in and get credit for tonight, you know, gold star or something, please come now with your call sign slowly, phonetically, and your name and your location.
Kilo November 5 Echo Echo Echo. My name is Al, Alpha Lima, from Allen, Texas.
Al, you just made the top 30. You're number 30 on our list. What an interesting call sign. Okay, that's wonderful. All right, let me see. I've got to get the closing statement here in front of my face. Tonight, we had 30 hams participating in Skynet. Thank you for all that checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night since 2012. At 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration on this net. The sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at being a net control, please, if I can do this, you can do this. Just send an email out to nets@w5fc.org and let them know you're interested in being a net control. If you follow topics, discussion about this net and astronomy in general, you can do that on Facebook and X, as well as you can find our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. So until next Saturday night, that would be in September, this is KF5JHA. My name is Chaz. I'll be closing the net at 10:27 and a few seconds local time, and that's PM, returning the repeater to normal amateur use. You know, there's something that's coming up after this called Afterglow. Maybe Tom wants to talk a little bit about that. 73, everyone.
Well, thank you, Chaz. Thanks for doing great net. You had the lion's share of everything tonight. 3 features. Thanks. Appreciate it. This is KE5ICX. We'll come back in about 5 minutes. 5 minutes to discuss the fine film from 1980, Saturn III, with Kirk Douglas and Farrah Fawcett Majors. Hey, how about that? Yeah, it's that good. Come back in 5. This is KE5ICX.
Normal state. Afterglow Movie Net, Saturday, 10:30 p.m., W5FC.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
Okay, everybody, get your better have your popcorn ready. You had plenty of time. You had 5 minutes to pop 4-minute popcorn. So you should have your bucket ready. It's time to sit down and discuss another fine film. This one called Saturn III from 1980, a British science fiction film. This is KE5ICX. Let me tell you about this film. It was produced and directed by Stanley Donen and starring Farrah Fawcett, I think before she became Farrah Fawcett Majors, or maybe she was, I don't know, Kirk Douglas and Harvey Keitel. The screenplay was written by Martin Amis from a story by John Barry, though a British production made by Luke Grade's ITC Entertainment and shot in Shepperton Studios. The film has an American cast and director. It was a box office bomb and earned largely negative reviews. Keitel's biographer called the film the nadir of his career. So the project was based on an idea by John Barry, one of the leading production designers of the 1970s, whose credits included, are you ready for this, A Clockwork Orange, Star Wars, and Superman. He pitched it to Stanley Donen when they were making Lucky Lady together, and Donen suggested he produce while Barry directed. Donen had no experience in science fiction prior to this. The script was written by novelist Martin Amis, who did it for a fee of £30,000. According to Amis' biographer, the original script is at once heroic and pitiful. His various attempts at wit, rhetorical bravado, even elegance being shoehorned into the directorial enterprise movie for Lou Grade, and gave Grade a copy of the script to read. Grade read it while on a plane with Farrah Fawcett. He gave the script to Fawcett, who was interested, and Grade agreed to make the movie when the plane landed. Donen later said the script wasn't thoroughly realized at this point. We signed Farrah Fawcett. We had a starting date with Lord Grade, got off that airplane, but no script. Fawcett later said the script was originally called The Helper. It was an interesting story about how a robot took on the mind of a guy who created him, she said. And when Harvey Keitel character would look at me, the robot he created would look too. It was an interesting script, so creative. The script changed once Fawcett became involved. We went through all sorts of thoughts, said Donen. There were times when we had a story where no one was the villain, but I think there was always an age difference between Farrah and the man whom she was working. I think we were looking for an older rather than younger man in every version of the story, yet we don't feel that the script has changed to accommodate the casting of Kirk Douglas. Other people worked on the script. Amis said that most of the final script was written by Frederick Raphael. The script was accused of being similar to Alien, but Donen pointed out Barry had the idea several years before it came out. It's a pity that we didn't get it out first. There's a similarity of the monster villain, but ours doesn't take on the guise of a monster. Ours is beautiful to look at in a strange way. The alien was sort of an organic reptile with a steel mouth. Ours looked more human. It had legs, and we show ours. Donen said it probably closer to the real Frankenstein story than the Hitchcock thriller. It's meant to frighten you in an unusual way and to give you a sense of relief at the way it comes out. It's science fiction, but not comic strip. It's also a film that's both sensuous and sensual. ITC was also producing Raise the Titanic, there's a fine film, at the same time. As that film went over schedule and over budget and ultimately failed at the box office, the production of Saturn III was cut back. There's all sorts of interesting things in here. You can go to the wiki page for Saturn III that tells you about the film, or you can go to YouTube, and there's a recently produced Saturn III film, Saturn III synopsis film, put on by Dan Monroe. If you haven't seen any of his stuff and you listen to this net or you participate in this net, check it out. Whatever Happened To is his series of things he puts out about once every 1 to 2 weeks. And this one, Saturn III, was done, I think, about a month ago. So you get a chance to watch it. It's quite interesting. Lots of production photos and explanation of what happened and all of that. It's well done. I enjoy it. I subscribe to it on YouTube, so it sits in my inbox when it does come in. Okay, well, with that, I'm not going to give any of the detailed synopses because I think we'll manage to make that happen. I'm going to go ahead and take check-ins. This net is designed for your participation. So we will go through in round one after you check in. If you've seen the film, just simply say, I've seen the film. And we will talk about the plot, followed by characterization, followed by any of the technical aspects of the film, of which there are many in this one. Music, lighting, the special effects, you name it, you get to talk about it. Third round. Okay, let's take check-ins. Please come with your call sign, phonetically your name. And did you see Saturn III? Let's go.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Bill and Irving. Yep, I saw it.
November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia, Fort Worth. Yes, I saw it.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sir Oscar Kilo, Sean Fort Worth. Yes, I saw it. November 5, Sierra, Quebec, Alpha, Ron, Dallas. Yes, I saw it.
Okay, there's pause in the action. There was one person I did not get. There was a double, and Ron won, so I will ask for another round here in a second. N5BB, Bill and Irving, yes, you saw it. NV5F, Virginia, Fort Worth, yep, she saw it. KB9SOK, Sean, Fort Worth, yes, he saw it. And N5SQA, Ron in Dallas, he's here, and he saw the film. So I've got you checked in. Who else out there wants to check in? Please come out.
Kilo Juliet 5, Charlie Golf Oscar, Portable, AP, and Dallas. Oh yeah, I saw it.
Okay, there was another double. How interesting tonight. I've got KJ5CGO, and then the double came in, and you were obliterated, but you said you saw the film. Could I get your name and location, please?
That's just the Echo Link radio, whoever was had a closer signal than the Echo Link radio, KG5 BGW. That's it.
Okay, I see what happened. There's a delay over on Echolink, and so let me see here. I got KJ5CGO, got obliterated again. Yes, he saw the film. KG5BZWJ near Weatherford, I bet you he saw the film. And then Robert, AI5QE. Can't read my own handwriting. Robert, did you see the film?
To the film, and that's why I'm going to be silent tonight and just enjoy listening. So thank you very much. I'm in Houston tonight, and just going to listen. So sorry I didn't see it, but just enjoy listening to it. So yeah, that's it.
problem. We've got you checked in. You did not see the film, but don't worry. We may ask you a question if you're still out there. But thank you for checking in. We appreciate it. Even if you haven't seen the film, it's perfectly okay. Anyone else want to check in? Please come now.
Kilo November 5, Echo, Echo, Echo. Al from Allen, Texas. Have not seen the movie in 40 years, and like Robert, I won't really have anything to say about it. I just kind of want to lurk on the sidelines and listen.
All right, KN5 Triple E, Al and Alan, we got you checked in, and you said no, you didn't see the film, except 40 years ago. Don't worry, memories dies hard, but I didn't remember much of this film either. And I'm going to put WB5OZL in. That would be Brenda. She's over on Echolink asking to be checked in, so I'm going to check her in, and I know she saw the film because we were discussing it last night. Anyone else?
W5 BLT, Whiskey 5, Bacon, Lettuce, Tomato. Tom, I missed it if you got me. This is Bill Garland, W5 BLT.
Well, Bill, I got you that time. There have been some nasty doubles this evening, which is unusual in this net because we don't have a ton of people checking in, although tonight we've got 10 so far, 11 including myself, so not too bad. You were unfortunately not checked in until number 10 slot, and you are now, W5BLT. I got you. So I guess we'll go down the list in order. This is going to be a lively net, I think. So we'll start with Bill, N5BB. Bill, what did you think about the plot for Saturn III?
This is N5BB. I liked the movie. That's right. By the way, I think at one point you said 1983. It was 1980 is when this released, 1980. And I did like the movie. I did. I think I may have seen parts of this movie before. If so, it was many, many years ago. And I don't believe I've seen the whole movie until today when I saw it. And I liked it. The plot, I think, was fine. Now, I was a little confused because I saw some reviews that seemed to think it was on Titan. It wasn't on Titan. It was supposed to be on Tethys, which is the third moon of Saturn. That's why it's called Saturn III. Titan is very small, though. Tethys is very small. Saturn III is only 662 miles in diameter. So one thing about the plot that doesn't make any sense is that they should have been, jumping around like a smaller version of our moon, very little gravity. But they weren't. They were walking just like on Earth. So they didn't worry with that part of the plot. I don't know if that's special effects or plot things, but they didn't even worry with that. I like the whole concept of the film and everything. I thought the action was good. I did not think it was stretched out too long. I thought the pacing was okay. I thought they had this was right after the 70s, so they had the Blue Dreamer pills, which I think was interesting as a future thing where everybody was popping the pills. I thought it was interesting, very interesting, that they played the game of chess against the computer. I'm an old guy. I remember what was going on in around 1980. This was just when the late 70s was when big computers finally could play a reasonably good chess game against the chess master. And they were starting to look at coming out with like home chess games for your personal computer, although they weren't very good. So this was coming out right at the time when the idea of humans playing computers on chess was something that was in the news. So that was interesting. I know that Brenda and some other people probably aren't going to like the fact that Sally the dog was killed. So that was unfortunate, but two humans got killed too. I thought it was interesting how bloodthirsty that Captain Benson, the imposter that killed Captain James, how bloodthirsty he was, and of course how his bloodthirsty attitude was downloaded into the robot Hector, which I thought was an interesting twist, and causes everything else to happen. I'll leave characterization to later, since I've got a lot of comments about Kirk Douglas, Farrah Fawcett, their ages and everything. Yes, that's it for now. Oh, I thought it was a very interesting plot thing. He gets there, the imposter, right as they're going into a cliff, so that the crew can't call back to Earth because they're in the cliffs. They can't. I'm not sure if they were in cliffs of Earth. They may have been in the cliffs of Titan or somewhere else where the main base was. I think that's what the deal was. That's all I got for now, Inside BB.
All right, thank you, Bill. Good comments. Next up, Virginia, NV5F, Virginia. You saw the film. What'd you think about the plot from KE5I6?
Okay, thank you, Tom. Thanks for the idea of popcorn. I did make popcorn. I'm enjoying it. Well, I will say this is one of those movies that I've seen clips of, and it looks so dreadful that I have avoided it like the plague. So this is the first time I've ever seen it because it just looks so gratuitous. First off, if you want to make a science fiction movie that's not a flop, still make it rated R. The numbers are out, and making a movie rated R is usually going to take your revenues down way, 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 way lower than they could be. But that's a whole other topic. Anyway, the plot of this was easy to follow in general. What the original mission of the original captain was supposed to be. I guess he was supposed to take the robot over there. I don't know. I need to watch it again. Because I was, getting settled in at the beginning. So I was trying to figure out why this bad guy wanted to replace him and take a robot to this science station, and whether that was the original intent, and if he was a bad guy who killed some guy, I guess that he could leave town or whatever. Why didn't he just split, but he goes and torments these two people that seem pretty happy in their little world there in the hydroponics food growing area. This was like a weird combination of like silent running and something really stupid, but I think the adding of Farrah Fawcett to this definitely skewed the plot away from the original intent, the original idea, which was probably pretty good. Because then it turned all into about, desire and sex and it didn't go, and I will say, as much as I have avoided it, it did not it did not go into like cringe territory where I thought it was going to go. It was, you know, there was a little bit of nudity and violence, and I was anticipating it being way more adult, quote unquote, and even more gory than it was. So I found it reasonable to follow. I did, by the end, in the end sequence where it was them versus the robot, I did find myself caring about how they were going to outsmart this big dumb robot that seemed to always be able to catch up with them, even though it walked like a Frankenstein. And I don't know why they didn't just smash its tiny, weird camera head so it couldn't see. But I was rooting for them by the end, and I did think it stunk that old Kirk Douglas had to sacrifice himself. And then, of course, at the end, she ends up going to Earth, I guess, because she's by herself, and she needs to not be by herself, so she goes to Earth. And based on what's his face, the bad guy, Harvey Keitel, was telling her, it sounds like she's going to have kind of a rough ride on Earth, but I don't know, maybe he was exaggerating because he was just gross. He was always trying to, like, you know, he was like that gross dude who keeps hitting on you, and he thinks that being gross is going to somehow make him attractive. I haven't figured that one out yet. So, yeah, the plot was, you know, it was sad that Sally the dog was killed. That was probably the saddest thing in the whole movie. And it had some suspense. It had some tension. It did not drag on ridiculously. It was okay. The whole point of it, I wasn't quite sure of, like, what the inciting thing was, like, why this guy came there. And that it was conveniently right when they were going to be in eclipse from communications for, like, 26 days or something. So that's pretty, I guess, pretty standard, you know, science fiction stuff. Let's have the AE-35 unit fail just at the wrong time. So anyway, yeah, it was okay. I like I said, I did not, I was not as, like, just grossed out by it as I thought I was going to be based on the clips and plot synopses that I had seen in other places. So, you know, there was couple of kind of minorly gory things in it, but it wasn't just, you know, gross, super gross out, but it was kind of what I would expect in 1980. I almost was afraid it was going to be like a late night HBO almost adult film, and fortunately it was not that. And you know, it had kind of at least a good element of science fiction and tech and robots and AI and you know, just general attempt at appeal. So anyway, that's it for me. NV5F.
All right, well, that's a surprise, Virginia. I like your comments. Next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, what'd you think about the plot?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, there's definitely some plot holes. You know, we start off at the beginning there where obviously it was talked about the quote-unquote, I guess, bad astronaut or scientist killing the good one. Of course, the bad one had failed his psych exam. They knew that there was something seriously wrong with him. And that's kind of where I think the plot starts to go off a little bit, because once again, if somebody was mentally disturbed and they took him off the project, why wasn't his clearance revoked? You know, how did he even get access to the area? But obviously he was, I guess, going because he obviously was originally supposed to be they wanted to go until he failed his psych exam, so he still wanted to apparently follow through with it. So yeah, that was kind of kind of started off with some weird plot things there, but yeah, you know, and then then when we actually get there too, the whole thing as far as producing food there just doesn't make much sense. They were looking to produce food to feed the earth. I don't know how you're going to do that in caves. And yeah, as already mentioned about the gravity thing, didn't make sense. There should have, they should have been, there should have been gravity. Like they're walking around normal. And then, yeah, just how they, how you were going to make that food and, why would they go out getting rock samples for the food production? It's just, yeah, there are parts there they just didn't really kind of explain. I guess at the end of the day, that wasn't what this movie was about. Obviously, as it was read early on, that this kind of had the alien kind of feel of, once again being trapped someplace and having something chase you. And, we've seen a lot of these movies over the years, and they, they're all about the same. I can't say that, I kind of had mixed feelings on this one. I didn't really like it, but I didn't hate it either. I just kind of had it's okay. It just, didn't really put one way or the other about it. I think it could have been a better idea. I think I kind of agree when they brought Spirit Lawson into this. It probably kind of messed it up because, after all, why would a robot lust after a human? That makes no sense. I realize it took on the guy's personality, but that just kind of threw it off. I think it'd been more interesting had they not just normal, quote unquote normal person come over, because just the idea of a robot direct learning from a human and actually learning good from bad and the basics from it and existing from a human. I think they could have had an interesting struggle for the robot, to where the robot might at one point in time was struggling with what was right and what was wrong, instead of just being purely evil the whole time. I think that would have made a much better movie, and maybe in the end, they could have had the robot maybe finally do the right thing, or maybe not. But yeah, I think that would have made a much better movie instead of just being so blunt to the point. But yeah, I think it was just supposed to be one of those movies where obviously it's go after the humans, try to kill them, and then of course the humans got to come up with a clever way to capture the robot and destroy it. And yeah, I agree, it was silly. I agree with you, Virginia. Why didn't they just take out the eye? I mean, like, that would have been the easy way to end this thing, to be done with it. But they didn't. Yeah, it was kind of weird. But all in all, like I said, it was just okay. Yeah, I wasn't crazy about the dog being killed either. I thought that was, not really necessary, but I guess that was to scare her, move forward with it, I guess. But, yeah, interesting concept. Just it failed a little bit. I think if they spent some more time and made this more of an actual science fiction than other than just kind of a horror type film, I think it would have been much more successful, for sure. But anyway, yeah, more talk about characters because there was some characters to talk about. So, yeah, back to that KB9SOK.
All right, thank you, Sean, and good comments as well. Tonight's movie is Saturn III from 1980, in case anybody's listening. We're about midway down the list. Next up is Ron, N5SQA. Ron actually watched this fine film. I hope he's still there. Ron, what did you think about the plot for Saturn III?
I thought the plot was totally full of holes, not just scientifically, but just thematically. I'm not sure what word I'm looking for. But this movie was a mess. It started off kind of creepy. I'm not used to doing these reviews on your late night show here, so I'm not sure what part I'm supposed to talk about. But at any rate, I watched it. I agree with an earlier commenter that it was just, I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I could see, I watched that thing about the making of the movie first, recent, and all the trials and tribulations they had trying to make it, all of which I think made it into the final film. At any rate, it was a mess. I certainly don't recommend it to anybody. I think I'm not good at movie reviews. N5SQA, back to net.
Oh, Ron, you did great. The only thing I would recommend on your movie reviews is find a thesaurus, and then whatever, however you feel about the film, which is usually something that, you know, you pretty much articulated is it wasn't a very good film. Just different synonyms for the word horrible or terrible or any able, because we know that that's all you have to do. You did great. Now you got to think about characterization, and we'll come back to that in a minute. Next station, which got doubled over not once but twice, KJ5CGO. If you don't mind, can you give me your name and location? I know I asked earlier, but you got doubled over a second time. So I just checked in. You did see the film, so once you do that, go ahead and tell us what you think about the plot from KE5I6.
KJ5 CGO AP in Dallas. I came into this with an advantage. I didn't know anything about it. One of the ways I often like to approach movies, this movie came out the year before I did. So it was not something I would have been aware of as I was nursing. But when I saw the good captain go through the space blender in the opening few minutes of the film, I started laughing then, and I just did a mental, okay, so this is what we're going to be looking at, and I'm giving it a lot of passes on plot holes and all of the good observations that have been made, and I'll say that if the movie had done what it set out to do per the wiki article, at least with respect to the plot, that would have been a little stronger. But I will also say this. I'm super frustrated with movies being remade, Twister into Twisters, and I can't even tell the difference from the first version to the second. I'll say this for the movie. I had not seen that sequence of events before, and in the most literal sense, that is plot. So this ended up being a movie that was somewhere between a good, bad movie, and I'm going to say a movie I kind of liked. KJ5 CGO.
All right, well, thank you. Yes, well, you know, everybody has different feeling about it, and you know, some people have come back and even tonight have said, I found this movie not terrible. So there's that. Okay, next up is Jay, KG5BZW, near Weatherford. Jay, you saw the film. What'd you think about the plot from KE5I6?
This is KJ, Go Golf 5, Bravo Zoo, Whiskey. Yeah. Do I hate the film? No. It had a lot of problems, though. There's too much, I think. You know, any film is going to have things where they don't explain stuff. But there's just too much of the why, of the intent. I mean, even something that even if it's a human-made automaton or whatever, you're going to find being or saying intent, and I didn't even see. But what was the purpose of the robots or cyborg robots, whatever, brain in box, operated, whatever. Anyway, what was even the intent of the guy? I really feel like there's enough to that. Why did he kill the other guy? That okay, yeah, I mean, obviously, towards the story that happened, but it seemed like a really just poor intro. I agree with you. One of the commenters about how it could have been something where, it was a brain in a box that they could have easily done some sort of, especially, maybe I do need to read the wiki, because, there's a number of references to the Garden of Eden, whatever. Although it was not, but I guess sorry, I'm thinking about this. I guess the guy is the serpent, and I don't know what the robot's supposed to be. I'm making up stuff here. It didn't really make sense. Okay, let me finish my thoughts, since I'm kind of going back all over the place here. I like the idea that it could have been a more innocent guy that brought the robot, and somehow the idea that the robot could have fed on that person's unconsciousness, and maybe that's why it went evil or something, because there was a certain, they could have done so much more of that instead of having the robot flinky, just plain evil, and kill indiscriminately, really. It's just, and that's the thing, it's like, even if it's, in plots where there's a definitely evil character, it's understandable when an evil character is often, they have their reasons. They're immorally wrong, but they have their reasons. Here, I don't know any of the reasons. I don't know. This robot is really dumb, and anyways, and the Jackson, the person that brought the robot. Whatever. I'm not even going to discuss it. I mean, Harvey probably did as good as he could done with that character, but it could be. He could have been written. I'm getting the characters now. Shoot. And then, of course, it's the disabling of the robot, where they, dismantled the robot. And of course, the robot, it's kind of the cool concept of the robot somehow having enough power to put itself back together, but robots dismantled, but there's no way to dismantle the batteries from the robot carcass or whatever. It's just, maybe each part has its own power supply or something, but then it doesn't quite matter, because it's maybe what I'm having to make up stuff for it being able to survive the whatever shock or whatever they gave it. I don't know. So many places this film could have gone that were kind of interesting, and they didn't do it because of whatever reason. And that's really what's most annoying to me about the film stuff. I think it's gone long enough. KQ5 BCW.
All right, thank you, Jay. You brought up a couple points. I'm going to talk about them in a bit. Next up is AI5QE. That's Robert. Yes, you saw the film as well. What did you think about the plot from KE5I6? Oh, wait, I think Robert said that it was no. Let me make that a no. think he did mention that. So I'm sorry about that, Robert. Next up is, looks like Brenda. Al, you said no, so I'm going to skip you for now, but I'll come back to you. WB50ZL. Brenda, you're up. Tell us what you thought about the plot from KE5I6.
Yes, WB50ZL. Well, the plot was okay. I think the thing that wasn't believable is that just two people were on this big station doing this research, and it was up to them to figure out how to feed Earth and population. That facility should have had some more scientists there, and think that it had to be something to research, food, food for themselves and medicine and things like that. So it was a little contrived to me. The plot was simple enough that I don't really have a problem with it. I just have time believing them as scientists. Comes along, what is he supposed to the plot was just a little bit thin. All right, back to that WD5OZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. Next, Bill, W5BLT. Bill, what did you think about the plot from KE5I6?
I didn't necessarily have a problem with the plot. It's just the way the movie was implemented. Part of me liked the movie, and part of me didn't. I'll be honest. And I always appreciate everybody on these nets, again, being blind. There's so much I miss in these movies. And the captain being killed and put in the space booster. Sorry, it's not funny, but the way the description, the way that it was described, I had no idea what would happen in this movie. So the way that, I never want to see anybody packed up that way, but it's the description in a different perspective, because I was totally lost on what happened there. I just read the thing, the captain got killed by this crazy guy. And there wasn't a lot of dialogue in the beginning of the movie, so I was kind of lost. And I think that kind of soured me on the movie from the start, because I was confused at the very beginning. And just as a side comment, Tom, I could go back and watch Star Trek The Motion Picture, and this isn't related to it all, except the Star Trek The Motion Picture is a better movie. And I actually liked it with the descriptive video. It was, I had considered it one of the my least favorite Star Trek movie, and now I put it up there as one of the top ones. So descriptive video makes all the difference. And so I say that is that I think one of the reasons that I had a little bit of problem with the plot is I got down on this movie at the very beginning. Yeah, I didn't like the dog getting killed. I think everybody, and I don't, it wasn't like, Old Yeller where, there was a reason for it. It's just a psychotic robot. I don't have anything against Farrah Fawcett. I think she was from the Charlie's Angels fame. And of course, every guy in school would want to go see a movie or something with her in it. But I think that's what got these guys sidetracked. I think they had a good idea, and then they tried to write it around her, and you just can't do that. You got to go with your original story. Maybe they didn't have to, but so there were parts of it I liked. I liked the idea of the Frankenstein modern robot thing. I don't think that they were on the quality of Alien, and even if they got this out before Alien, it would different. The plot, we have kind of seen before some crazy guy, taking things over. That crazy guy kind of reminded me of the guy in just the psychotic guy, The Black Hole, actually, which was another movie around that time. And, I think because of the success of Star Wars, we were kind of lured into some science fiction movies, or they made science fiction movies maybe that ought not to have been made. But I don't know. I have mixed feelings on this. The only other thing I will say is, and this is where I was confused too, when Kirk Douglas sacrifices himself. I didn't understand how that happened. I guess they had a trap for the robot, a hole, or the robot fell through covering or something, and camouflage or heat camouflage. I think if that was the case from the description I read later, it would have caused all the air and everything to go out and come back in. So I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if that's what happened, but I read something about that. So maybe clarify that. W5BL.
All right, thank you, Bill. Yeah, all right. Good. I'm glad you liked Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Hope you saw the director's edition. I think it's a better film than the one that went out to theaters very quickly. Okay, we're at the bottom of the list. I'm going to go ahead and ask if there's anyone else out there that has not checked in that would like to do so. Please come now with your call sign, phonetically your name, and did you see tonight's movie, Saturn III from 1980? Okay, I think we got the usual folks, plus, so probably nobody else out there that wants to check in. Let me say this. This was brought up, and I think it was Jay that brought it up, and I think it's a very good point. And that is, what is the robot for? What is the point of the robot? Why was the psychotic guy psychotic, and why did he want to go to Saturn III? I mean, we got to understand the motivations to all of this. Why did he go through the slice? Why did he send the guy through the slicer dicer? Obviously, he wants to play the take the place of the role, but I don't know. Maybe I missed something. Now, full disclosure, I fell asleep during this movie, so I don't know how it ends. And I've seen this movie before, and I still don't remember how it ends. So you'll have to help me through that strange time. But in any case, I didn't think, I didn't understand the meaning or the reason for the robot and what the motivation was, except I guess to hit on Farrah Fawcett, which made no sense. And the Kirk Douglas role was just plain strange. I'm not sure whether it was just written that way or Kirk Douglas liked it being that way, but the Dan Monroe thing, I think, mentions the, well, never mind. We'll have that on the next round. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that one. Okay, let's move on to characterization. This should be good. Bill, N5BB, your thoughts on characterization?
Well, thank you, Tom. This is N5BB. As I said, I like the movie. And by the way, just to clear some things up, as I understand it, here are some critical plot things that some people may have missed.
Right.
Captain James was originally supposed to deliver the robot and its brain, which he had in his locker, so that's why he was going to do it. He was supposed to be delivering it there to Saturn III. And in the scene in the locker room near the start of the movie, you see that the imposter, Captain Benson, he and Captain James are talking, and Captain James makes fun of Benson. He says, "Oh, you failed the psychology test, so they won't let you go there." So what did Benson do? Well, he shoved, he got in his spacesuit, and he shoved Captain James through the thing in a way that sliced him up, and he went instead. So that's what happened. Captain James was supposed to get there, but this other person on the project that couldn't go because he failed the psychology test. You see, obviously why. Of course, he should have been in the brig. He should have been walking around. But he went instead. So that's what happened. He did this because he, of course, killed Captain James. And I assume that the people on the station just didn't notice this. Nobody was around when he did this. And it must have taken them a while to figure out that Captain James was dead. So that's why they probably didn't, radio ahead to Saturn III, because before the radio blackout. Anyway, okay, so let's stop there. Oh, and by the way, at the end, Tom, I'll just let you know that Alex is headed to be her in the spacecraft, departing to go down to the Earth surface. Okay, now as far as the characterization, Captain James died too quickly. All we know about him is that he was making fun of Captain Benson, the psychopath. So maybe he shouldn't have done that. Anyway, Captain Benson, Harvey Keitel, was obviously just a psychopath. And the key thing about this, everybody's saying, well, why did the robot do this? Because Captain Benson downloaded himself into the robot. This is in 5BB. So the reason this movie I find so interesting right now, what happened late this week, NVIDIA, the big maker of now artificial intelligence chips, announced they'd sold a humongous amount of them. Their stock still went down because people thought they'd sell even more. So what's happening right now? What's in the news every week? Artificial intelligence, machine learning, machines starting to do things humans could do. Guess what? That's what this movie is about. And how did the robot learn? Well, it learned through that direct connection through the back of the brain. Okay? So that's what happened here. The paranoid Captain Benson, the psychopath, all his emotions, feelings, ideas got downloaded into the robot. Early on, the robot figured this out, and there was actually in the Elmer Bernstein music, they had some kind of voiceover on it at one point, which is crazy. The voiceover was murder, 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 repeated several times. I thought that was pretty wild to actually put the word murder in there with the music. That's what happened there. That's the reason the robot went crazy, because he had psychopathic things. So this, of course, go back to 2024, some people are worried about artificial intelligence doing bad things. So this movie it's like the Frankenstein thing. It kind of started all of this, back in 1980. This is in 5BB. Other characterization. So I talked about the robot Captain Benson. Kirk Douglas, Major Adam, I thought he was fine. He was doing his thing there. They were doing their hydroponic thing. The robot was supposed to go there to help them. Of course, the murderous Captain Benson wanted to replace one of them. I don't know if the robot was supposed to be a third person. I guess that was true. It was supposed to be a third person there. But Captain Benson obviously wanted to take Alex back to the Earth. So. But that was the idea. And I thought Kirk Douglas looked like somebody, he didn't look very much like a scientist, but he did look like somebody who was doing his job out there, maintaining what he was supposed to be doing, going outside, doing some spacewalks, doing what he was supposed to be doing. Alex, Farrah Fawcett, she was an assistant to him doing her job there. And I actually think the way the movie was written, they did okay. They weren't supposed to be highly technical people. They were supposed to be just doing their job there, doing the hydroponic stuff, just worker bees doing that stuff. The age thing was interesting. In real life, those two actors were 31 years apart. But to me, it was very believable. Kirk Douglas was 63 years old, and he seemed to me as a believable person that could be there with Alex. And Farrah Fawcett was 32 at that time. To me, that was believable, and evidently they wanted the Major Adam character to be quite a bit older. And they thought about getting Sean Connery and some other people in there, but they weren't available. So I thought Kirk Douglas did fine with this. I was okay with it. So was Farrah Fawcett. It wasn't supposed to be a big, fancy acting role. I think they did what they had to do. Not extremely good acting, but sufficient for the parts as written. 5BB. Let's see, other people. There wasn't anybody else. So I don't think there's anybody else for me to talk about. Thank you, 5BB.
All right, thank you, Bill, and thank you for the explanation. I guess that makes a little more sense, but I guess I'm a little dense. I still don't understand how the robot was supposed to help them ultimately. Maybe the third man, I don't know, but okay. All right, Virginia, NV5F, what did you think of characterization from KE5ICX?
Okay, well, here's my theory. Kirk Douglas showed up on the set of this movie, and he was like, "Who am I working for?" And they said, "The director is Stanley Donen." And he's like, "Oh crap, I thought you said Stanley Kubrick." I thought this was like the sequel to that cool science fiction movie that he made, except instead of a scary computer, it had a scary robot. Anyway, just kidding. I wasn't old enough at the time. I mean, everybody knew who Farrah Fawcett was, but I wasn't like a Charlie's Angels fan. And watching her in this, she was likable. She's, this sweet, young, pretty gal who was, in love with an older man. That happens. And that was part of the plot. Their characters, the ages were important to the plot, to the idea of the bad guy kind of trying to get into Major Adam's head about his age and prowess and all that, even though Harvey Keitel is a squeeby, wormy guy, so it's really funny of him bragging about his how much better of a lover he would have been than Kirk Douglas. That was kind of odd to me. Yes, Bill was actually paying attention to the movie. See, on Friday nights we get together and we start just rolling with our MST3K quips, and I think half the time we're not really giving our full attention to exactly what's happening. So, moral number one: when you find out someone who has failed their psych test, don't make fun of them. You never know what they're going to do. I don't know. I think that if they had gone less for the, we got Farrah Fawcett for this, let's make the story around her just general appeal, could have been a more, could have been better overall. The characters were very clear-cut archetypes. What Bill is saying, stuff that they've, we have been dealing with in the movies, since the 60s. And I mean, who's trying to link human brains with computers? Elon Musk is like hardcore into that kind of stuff. And as cool as he is, he's doing stuff that is kind of scary. That stuff is kind of scary. And even as terrible as I think this movie is, it's not the worst terrible movie I've ever seen. But, you know, those are things when we watch these older movies, they're really playing about concerns that we were expressing, but nobody paid much attention to, because here we are. It's like, have you seen all these movies? You know, people go, oh, let's invent neural links from people to machines. Let's invent Skynet. Let's invent, and I don't, but a radio net on you know, W5SC on Saturday night. So yeah, the whole character dynamic of them was fine. I actually did care about them. You know, I mean, they had their little thing going there. I do think that if anybody's going to be running a hydroponic station in deep space, that they have to be more than worker bees. They have to be technical. You know, you can't have just two people there and not have them know everything about every switch, every circuit, everything, because they've got to take care of all that stuff. They've got to know how to fix the radio or replace the AE35 unit, or, you know, whatever. They've got to be pretty smart people. So I think they could have been portrayed a little bit smarter. They were definitely, you know, pretty people in space with, you know, cool outfits. What were supposed to be cool outfits. I liked Sally the dog. I knew Sally was going to get killed as soon as I saw poor Sally. I was like, yeah, I know there's a bad guy coming. And then when I saw that big creepy robot, I was like, yeah, that dog's getting it. So, and then the robot, he wasn't nearly as lovable as HAL 9000, and I'm sure Hal could kick his butt in a game of chess. Anyway, that's it for me. It's B5S.
Oh, thank you, Virginia. Your referbacks to 2001 are always entertaining. Thanks. Next up, Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, characterization, you're up.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, as everybody said, we didn't have a whole lot of characters in this movie. Very few, actually. We really only had three. The robot didn't really have its own character, because it was basically just the personality of the bad guy. You know, I think once again that might have been more interesting. Once again, as the robot started out, and maybe didn't instantly take on that bad part of the personality. Had maybe the robot started out likable, and then all was turned on. It might have been more entertaining. Yeah, the characters, I think everybody's already said he has. But the crazy guy definitely played the crazy guy for sure. The psychopath, you know, borderline creepy, and just, you know, generally just a bad guy. I was okay with Kurt Douglas, you know, part. I was okay with Farrah Fawcett as well. Once again, obviously they focused on her. Yeah, there wasn't really a lot of characterization here. It's a pretty simple movie. It's just meant to be kind of a scary movie, I guess, more than anything, or tried to be on that. And then, of course, you know, tap into the sci-fi fans. And then, yeah, I agree. It is interesting. You know, when you watch these old films warning about AI one day being an issue, and, you know, here we are today, that's all we hear about. And at work, being somebody in IT, that's all I keep hearing from the upper management. Well, what are we going to do with AI? Well, yeah. So, yeah, it's definitely a hot topic right now, so maybe it's kind of a timely movie in a way. Even though I'm not really sure this robot was really what you could call AI. It was kind of supposed to be an actual brain that was downloaded into. We're obviously not at that level yet. But yeah, I think Tom asked, what was the purpose of the robot? Yeah, it was just to help them, because they made a comment in the movie about the two robots they had being completely worthless, pretty much because they had just remote control, and they couldn't think for themselves and help out, obviously with the heavy workload. So I think that was supposed to be the point of that robot. Was supposed to help them along, they'll do things a lot quicker, because it could think for itself. And I'm not sure that it was meant to be giving input, but yeah, I agree with Virginia's comment on the scientists. I would have expected them to be a lot smarter. That was, probably one part of the personality that was kind of surprising. Yeah, if you only got two people running a space station, they'd have to be pretty sharp. And you think they'd be very science. Because after all, they're the only two trying to figure out how to beat the planet. And, I would think they'd have to be very smart people. But yeah, they didn't come across that way. They came across, just as worker bees, unfortunately. And two, I think somebody said earlier on with the problem, why wasn't there more people there if this was that important? So yeah, kind of just the same about the movie. Just kind of, already, not much else on this. But back to that, KB9, that's okay.
All right, thank you, Sean. Yeah, the entire world's future is based on two people that don't know how to throw switches. Okay, next up is Ron, N5SQA. Ron, your thoughts on characterization from KE5ICX.
Yeah, I don't know from characterization, but somebody just asked the question, why weren't there more people there? And we don't know how long they've been there, but they had to feed the dog something. And then in that robot, they had a big tube of what were presumably human brains. Where did they get all these unprogrammed human brains? Possibly from the people who funded the movie. And then at the very beginning, in the locker room scene, the bad guy, who ended up going to Saturn III, reset, opened a hatch, and the real captain fell through the slicer dicer. Why in the world is there a slicer dicer on this mothership? I'm not clear on what that's about. And then the craft that he used to get to Saturn III was was transparent and powered by dry ice fog. It just doesn't make much sense. Reset. At any rate, it was completely incoherent. At any rate, that's enough for now. N5SQA.
All right, thank you, Ron. All good points. I won't disagree. Let's see now. Next up is Richard, KJ5CGO. Richard, go ahead. Tell us what you thought about characterization from KE5ICX.
This is KJ5CGO. Sorry if I forgot the word. This is AP near Lovefield in Dallas. I go by AP. So characterization-wise, I'll offer a serious reflection in that I would put forward that the robot is the only character that's developed any growth through the movie. And although I struggle to understand how these neutral, unprogrammed, well, I think they call them blank brains, when they're having the interview, and he says, well, hey, he learned when I'm direct connected, suggesting that he wouldn't pick up on necessarily his thoughts and other activities when they weren't direct connected. Okay. But the robot passes through a phase where he's calling balls and strikes, and he says that, the bit about murdering, and he has this sense of favorable morality or hints of it, and that has to be forced down and away by Captain Benson by ordering him not to share that about him, and then the robot says about himself, I'm not the one that's malfunctioning. You are. So I want to give the movie more credit than it deserves for the thoughts that it evoked there. But that was an interesting evolution. Even though, of course, there's all these inconsistencies, which y'all have rightfully pointed out. The other thing I would just say, just to be clear, I took a humorous approach to this after Captain James went through the space blunder and got replaced. But here Captain Vincent arrives on station, and he sees this woman and he says, "You have a nice body. Can I use it?" Okay, grown. I am cringing from there forward, like high pucker factor. I cannot believe I'm hearing this. And I kept waiting to understand the explanations and see what the world building was going to do to justify this. And yeah, I know it was 1980, and there was a lot of things that were a lot different than they are today. Fine. But still, that line just left me scratching my head and completely befuddled. So from a character perspective, the fact that I never could divine
Okay, AP, were you done? I think we lost you. I think you're done, but you can recheck at any time. But I got you. I got your comments. Let's see here. Next up is Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, go ahead. Your comments on characterization.
This is KG5BZW. Yeah. I really want to go on about some of the inconsistencies, like, that's fuck the whole territory. It bugs me that, okay, so we had, this murder or whatnot at the beginning of the movie. Well, at the end when there's this discussion with the, I forgot what they exactly call it, the plan of the spaceship was that to fly by or whatever, after eclipse and discuss that. What happened to James and Benson? That situation, it seems kind of strange. Grant, I know that wouldn't be the topic of such a interaction, or was it not? But it's just like, well, they didn't even mention did they even mention the third person, the person that brought the robot down there? I don't remember a single. Yeah, I missed it. I could have forgotten. It's just the whole handling of that just seems really off. Anyway, I mean, the Kurt and Sarah's characters, I think that's been covered by other people. Kaito's character was, of course, side effect. It's annoying that the robot was the only one to grow, but we don't even, or to change, I should say, maybe not grow. It is kind of interesting to call it growth when it's growth for worse. But it starts off with the moral, core, apparently, but ends with becoming don't. It really, they do not explain. With all the explanations that's been given, it's like, no, they don't really explain why the robot's there. No, they just like, oh, it's to help. So what? I want a little bit more explanation than what was given. And, of course, how it ends up, it ends up being some sort of, it was weird. I don't know where they were going with what that robot ended up becoming. It was really poorly written. It's just that bit, just at the very end before I don't know, somehow got the explosive next to the robot and detonated in the pool chamber or whatever. And so I guess you do have the self-sacrifice of Adam but there wasn't really that much to say. The characters are kind of spoken for. They could have been maybe a little bit better, but and explaining certain things. I think the story didn't quite allow for it. The way it was with, perhaps the situation with, Sarah Fawcett being how to put this, now I'm taking it into a weird territory. It's just, what Farrah Fawcett brings to the film and what they had to play to do that, to achieve that, I should say. Can't think of anything else character-wise, so I'm the next person. 55 pieces of it.
All right, thank you, Jay. And then next up, oh, he's gone. Okay, let me see here. Next up is Al, KN5EEE. Al, if you're still there, what do you think? I'll give you an opportunity. You said you did not see the movie, but is this one you're going to go watch, or is this a hit or a miss from KE5ICX? Okay, I think Al has fallen into slumberland, so I'm just mark him out. Next would be Brenda, WB5OZL. Brenda, your thoughts on characterization?
WB5OZL. Well, it's sad. Farrah Fawcett has always been sort of the butt of jokes for her acting. I don't know. Maybe I'm not. I never thought she was that bad. She was just a particular type of person. Good. I think she's okay in the part, and I thought they were okay for their parts. They're big, and this saccharin, this eternal, is a thing that's religious plate. Fuck, that was unfortunate and uncalled for. I wish I hadn't done that. I always get upset when I kill an animal. Let's see. death. That guy was just completely bad with that belief. And Michael were see any depth in these characters at all. Okay, back to that, WB50ZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. Next up, last but not least, is Bill, W5BLT. Bill, what did you think about characterization and the acting in our fine film this evening?
Okay, thank you, Tom. I'll make it quick because I know we're getting later, but it's interesting. You know, we always find ways to talk about a movie that I think it'll be quick and then it goes a lot longer. You know, I like Sarah Fox's character, Alex. I liked her Charlie Angel. I didn't think she's a bad actress. I thought she did the part very well. And I liked her character. You know, in the end, at least the script I saw at the end when they're getting ready to go toward Earth, and I think the flight attendant is handing out the pills, the blue pills, or whatever they were just had she refused. So, and so she was probably the most redeemable of all of them. And Sally Stone, of course, and you know, most likable. And you know, I appreciate everybody's clarification on Kirk Douglas' character too, because I didn't like Adam as well, because I kind of thought he was using Sarah Foster as Alex as well as the creepy Captain Benson. You know, I think everybody played their character very well. And Sally did a top-notch performance for K9. And but I really thought the characterization, I didn't dislike their roles. I just liked the character, obviously, as Benson. But good clarification on Adam. I got the feeling that that maybe Alex had been in space on other areas, you know, whether maybe another planet and another space station. I didn't think this was the only hydroponic station out there, so I thought, you know, maybe they were just maintaining it. I don't know, but I think everybody did their characters very well for the part that they were given. And like I said, I think Alex is the most redeemable character or likable character. I thought Sarah Foster did a good job with it. You know, they played the roles they were given, and I thought they did it well. W5PLT, I won't have anything on the next round. Special effects that habituated back to you, Tom. Thank you, W5PLT.
All right, thank you, Bill. And okay, thumbs up for the acting. Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give my comments, and of course, we're going to run over past midnight. So, with that in mind, don't do what I did last week and time out the repeater. What I'll do is I'll give my comments, and then I'll let another check-in at that point where you can decide if you want to make any final comments. So you'll have to come with a call sign again, and then whoever is on that list will get comments about the acting on this. I don't want to disagree with Bill. Farrah Fawcett's fine, I guess, but it's when compared with other actors, compare and contrast, she just appears like in many. Like in an amateur production where amateur actors are struggling to remember their lines, so all the emotion goes out of their performance. And that's what I felt. Kirk Douglas, on the other hand, played Kirk Douglas. He plays that same role in everything that he does, kind of the cocky guy, and that's fine. I mean, he's kind of had created that persona through the decades that he played, and he would be cast to type, and that's the type of role that he would play. And there's nothing wrong with that. But watch him in Final Countdown. Watch this. Oh hell, what's that movie? Any rate, just you'll see it's basically the same mannerism, same basic character. Our antagonist was interesting, but cringeworthy of the whole "I will use your body" type of thing was a bit much. But I don't know, whatever. So that's what I'm going to say on that. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead, and if you've got something else to say about the movie tonight, now is your opportunity. Please give your call sign, and I will go down the list. So if you have something final to say this evening on tonight's net, please come with your call now. 5BB.
CMV5F.
5BB.
Okay, we've got 3 there. If you want to hang around after that, that's fine too. Next up, well, first up is NV5F. Go ahead, Virginia.
Okay, well, let's see. Visual effects. The images of Saturn, I thought those could have been a lot better. The movie, another 2001 plug, one of the films that inspired 2001's effects was a film called Universe. It's a black and white Canadian film that I think came out in 1961 or something like that. And its visual effects are a lot better than this movie. The set of this movie was kind of cool. If they'd had a really cool plot to go into that really interesting kind of, you know, big space station, or, you know, I guess it's more of a Saturn moon base. If they had something cool to do in that set, and if they had done something with low gravity and that sort of thing, I think they had kind of a neat set there. I think this was filmed at, Shepperton, one of the big stages in England. So yeah, they had some cool. I mean, the robot, as impractical as it probably was, I know it was kind of a pain in the butt on the set to get the robot to work right. I think they had troubles with that, but I did not think the robot was very attractive or likable. I think they kind of tried to make it sort of like what one person was saying, almost like a moral conscience. But it would have been easier, I think, if the robot. Of course, he turns out to be kind of a bad guy because he gets taken over by the character of the bad guy. But I don't know, he was just big and scary looking. But overall, some of the sets were kind of cool, and I mean, there was some potential here for science fiction coolness. And the music was generally forgettable, and Kirk Douglas and Farrah Fawcett were, I think they thought they were kind of slam dunks for the movie because it was a rated R movie, and they could, you know, try to bank on talent and celebrity. And Elvis left the building, so I needed to reset. And they could, you know, but then they also, I think, went the wrong direction with the, you know, the sexual tension that was very awkward, but could have been way worse. and the nudity and the racy stuff. If they'd gone for more of a black hole kind of a thing, I think it could have been better. So anyway, but it had things in it that made it not absolutely horrific. In V5S.
All right, thank you, Virginia. I agree with you. I thought the sets were great. I thought some of the special effects not so much, as far as the miniatures were terrible, but the sets themselves were, I thought, excellent. Okay, next is Bill, N5BB. Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, this is N5BB. I thought the sets were okay. And, you know, I thought that the space station looked reasonable. They had some interesting filming with blue light at some points, which was kind of artsy and interesting. The long corridors with the turns and things made the set look much larger than it probably was, but it looked like it was a pretty reasonable size location there. I mean, it made it look like it was reasonably large. The one thing that bothered me is they did not make any attempt to make the electronics pieces look anything later than 1980, late 70s. That's exactly what it looked like. If you looked at any of the things they got in reasonably close, they were pushing buttons. Those were the buttons available in 1980. It's exactly what they looked like. They had some big old handles you pulled back to do some things. It was kind of old technology there, current technology. Nothing, no glass, in Star Trek, they were touching, kind of touching surfaces and glass things. Not in this. They had physical buttons. I didn't like that.
W5SC.
Because they weren't trying to make it futuristic. Also, when you looked up close, when they had close-up views of the artificial brain he brought with him, on the top of it, there were some buttons and switches. That was crudely done. It was like a high school ham radio project. It really was, if you looked at it. It's like the metal was kind of scratched. They didn't even paint it or anodize it. And they had some standard old toggle switches and push buttons. Pretty basic stuff. They could have done better than that. By the way, my guess, there's a lot of things they didn't go into detail, because if you go into details on some science fiction, you go into an area where you're talking about future things, and you don't know where you're going. You don't know what to say. So how did the brain work? Well, they couldn't talk too much about how it exactly worked. If I had to think about it, I would have thought they were artificially, created test tube cells, neurons, that were all put together. That's kind of what I thought it was artificially created material. They weren't harvested from something. I think they were artificially grown in a test tube kind of material, which we're getting close to doing right now. So, don't snicker too much at that. Let's see. This is N5BB. Let's see. What else did I have on my list? I like the dog. I like Sally the dog. She was great. Now my Alexa thing is getting excited hearing me talk about dogs. What else did I have to say? Let me look real quickly at this. I already talked about the Blue Dreamer pills, kind of state-of-the-art drugs for 1980. I think that's all I had. I talked about the Elmer Bernstein music. I thought it was okay, nothing special. And I talked about what bothered me was a murder voiceover at one point. I think that's all I got. In general, okay movie. Nobody wants to see the second time. Inside BB, thank you.
All right, thank you, Bill. And thanks for that comment about the murder thing. I completely missed that. Very interesting. Next up is Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, go ahead.
Shit upset. KG5BZW. I also want to say, yeah, I'm pretty sure that brain was actually, this is, they explicitly said, hey, this is neural tissue. And I got that impression from the movie that it was more of a grown brain than, absolutely it was a grown brain, that there was no, I'm not quite sure. Anyway, there's that. There is also that's another part of the movie that wasn't really explained. I didn't really understand very well. And it seemed for convenience. Not that it wasn't necessarily a terrible idea to have the robot being mute for most of the movie. What they did was they had the robot to interface to something, and I can't remember. Was it early typing work? That might have been kind of weird, but it can do stuff over that little neural link. Why would it need to type stuff out? It seems like it actually did type stuff out. And that was, it was the, whatever computer thing they were interfacing that was doing the voices for that. So, anyway. I didn't think the special effects were terrible. I mean, some of it, but why were they flying? Granted, I don't quite, I'd have to educate myself as to like where the moons are in relation to the ring belt, and they were always flying close to that. It's like, why? Why? I mean, I don't want to have a big old chunk of ice that, whatever speed, even though they're at orbital speed, presumably with the stuff, but they made it look. It was interesting, but kind of stupid at the same time. I love the set design. The other thing I wanted to talk about was, actually, let me reset. 1, 2, 3. I thought I might have gone a little bit longer. It's kind of interesting the aesthetic of the robot with all those hoses and stuff, sticking out there. This is more of a side topic to the movie than I comment on the movie itself. It is kind of commenting on the movie because it's kind of dumb to have a robot that has hoses that get hooked on things. I know as a person that has, people clothes, and my clothes just occasionally I slip too close to something and get hooked on. So imagine a robot which, man, there's no sensors on those hoses or anything, and just get randomly hooked. But the funny thing is, though, that is continuously that continues, I should say, to be the aesthetic, because, what did we get from Star Trek The Next Generation? What was one of their big enemies? Well, it was the Borg. And what did the Borg have? The exact same kind of aesthetic. So, I know that was more of there's definitely an aesthetic choice, and I know if you consider Alien and whatnot, a lot of stuff Geiger's creations in art had lots of tubes and was definitely biomechanical. Whereas at least Geiger's stuff seemed to fit in. It didn't just hang out. There's something else I wanted to say. I forgot it. But I think I've covered the main things that I did want to talk about. So I'll just end it there. KG5 easy day.
All right, thank you, Jay. Thanks for your comments. Thanks to everybody in your comments this evening. I'm getting tired now. Yeah, I don't have anything to add. Special effects were fine. Yes, it looks sets. I liked it. Seemed pretty cool. Light composition and visuals, color, and all that were quite good. The thing that really was poor in my estimation was the small miniature spacecraft miniatures really looked bad, really obvious. They were tiny, and the landing site on Saturn III was probably about maybe a foot wide. You could tell by the definition. So don't do that. Make large-scale models if you're going to make models at all. And when you do special effects with digital today, don't go overboard. Make it just enough to make it believable. Don't go crazy, going in the opposite direction, because they can do that now. Next week's movie is The Time Traveler from 1984, I think. I'm going to double check it and see. If it turns out it's a Hallmark film, no, we won't be watching it. But if it turns out it's a good film and science fiction-y, then yeah, we'll watch it. Okay, that's it for me. I want to say 7-3 to everybody. Hey, thanks for everybody who checked in. We had a lot of folks that checked in this evening, and most appreciated, and your comments were great. Even though it was sort of a middle-of-the-road mediocre film, we all kind of had fun with it and learned a few things along the way. So, see you next time. We'll talk again here this same bat time, same bat station next week. This is KD5 ICX, clear.